morning, dear students. My name is Dr. Shuaib Mohammad Bhat. I'm working as Assistant Professor in the Department of English at Institute of Aeronautical Engineering, Hyderabad. Today in this video lecture, we shall be talking about techniques of reading. So as we are done with reading, and previously in the last few lectures, we talked about these language skills, like we talked about listening, we talked about speaking. So these two skills are done. There we talked about the role of these two skills in order to acquire language. And for the listening, we talked about effective listening, what effective listening is, what are the stages of listening, how can we acquire this listening habit. Now we have speaking. What's effective speaking? What can we learn? How can we learn this speaking? And how can we be the influential speakers? Today we have reading. We have the third this language skill, which is reading. So we shall be just trying to know what reading is and what are different techniques of reading in this video lecture. So what's reading? The first question which our mind strikes, which our mind comprehends when it comes to reading, that's what is this reading? So it is the process of looking at a series of written symbols and getting meaning from them. Reading is the process in which we look upon some written symbols and we are extracting meaning from those symbols. So reading is to look upon the symbols. It is a process in which we look upon certain symbols and we are extracting meaning from those symbols. So that's reading. And when we read, we use our eyes to receive written symbols. It may be letters, it may be punctuation marks, and it may be some spaces. And we use our brain to convert them into words, sentences, and paragraphs that communicate something to us. How is this reading process going on? So when we read, we use our eyes. Obviously, see, right now you may be reading my slides. The first organ which you are using, the first prerequisite, the first essential which is required to read is your eyesight. So we are using our eyes to read the symbols. And these symbols, it may be letters, like words are written with the help of letters. It may be some punctuation mark, or it may be a space. So we use our eyesight to read these things, to read the written symbols, and then we use our brain in order to convert this written stuff, in order to convert this read stuff which we are reading or which we have read into the words and sentences or paragraphs. So what I want to tell you, for reading, for this activity, the first essential thing which is required, that's our eyes. Our eyes read the stuff, written stuff, which is written, these written symbols. It may be letters, it may be punctuation or something else. It may be diagram, it may be a picture. So then we use our brain, because then this information is being converted. It travels to the brain and there it gets converted into meaning. So it is there where we form words and sentences. For example, when you read CAT, so you are reading this CAT, it's your brain which converts this into cat, and it's your brain which says that cat means Billy. It's an animal. So no doubt this happens simultaneously. You read and you get to know what cat is. Because human mind, it works with a very fast speed. It doesn't let you know that there is some process going on behind it. So you do not have that sense to feel, yes, I first read CAT, then it traveled to my mind, then my mind did its process, then my mind processed these letters, and my mind told me CAT, when we are having these three letters, they form a word which is cat, and then your mind again tells you Wherever there is cat, it means it is an animal. It's we call it in Hindi or Urdu, we call this animal as billi. So there is a process behind it. Now, as I told you, human mind is a very wonderful mechanism is there. So it takes this action, it happens faster than fastest. It's very quicker. So it's our brain which converts these letters, symbols, these punctuation marks into words, letters into words, then into sentences, then paragraphs. So that communicates something to us. And when we read anything, obviously that is a kind of communication. See, when you read these slides, you communicate with the stuff which I am providing to you. Or indirectly you are communicating with me. Or I am communicating to you with the help of these slides when you read them. So reading is a process in which we read the written symbols, we read the written stuff, and then we convert it into the meaning with the help of our brain. Thus, a process of communication takes place with the help of reading. Then, reading is a receptive skill. Through it, we receive information. It's a receptive skill. See, when we talk about speaking, that's a productive skill. When we talk about writing, that's a productive skill. When you speak, you produce something. When you write, you produce something in the form of writing. And when you listen, you are receiving something. Same is the case when you read, you are receiving something. That's why we call reading a receptive skill. It is a receptive skill. And with the help of this skill, we receive information. We receive a lot of knowledge. With the help of this skill, we receive vast information. Different things we are receiving with the help of this receptive skill, reading. Then, I would like to quote some definitions of reading. Two wonderful definitions I have quoted here. One is by George Martin. George Martin is an American novelist. Martin says, "A reader lives 1,000 lives before he dies. The man who never reads lives only one." The reader lives 1,000 lives. These are the benefits of being a reader. Martin says a reader lives 1,000 lives. Obviously, a reader lives a lot of lives, because when you are a reader, when you read lot of books, you read lot of characters. For example, I would like to quote Shakespeare. You read Shakespeare's Julius Caesar. One of his most powerful tragedies, Julius Caesar, or King Lear, or Hamlet, or Othello. Any of the plays you read by Shakespeare. I quoted Shakespeare, and I frequently quote Shakespeare because he is a known writer. You belong to an engineering society, engineering background. You may not be aware with all the authors, but you may have heard the name Shakespeare because he is the literary giant. He is one of the greatest writers of English literature. So if you read his play, Julius Caesar, when you go through the character of Julius Caesar, you live a life of Caesar. You see how Caesar lived, how he became the powerful king, and how he was assassinated by his own friends. Then in the same play, you read some other character. You read the character of Mark Antony. You read the character of like Brutus. So again, when you read his character, you are living his life that moment. And you read another play, Twelfth Night. There is a character by the name Malvolio. There is a character by the name of that Duke Orsino. And different characters are there. And one of the famous play by Shakespeare, Hamlet. Hamlet, this Hamlet has been taken by cinema worldwide, around the globe. Lot of movies were based on Hamlet. And in Indian cinema, this Bollywood has also made a movie on Hamlet by the name Hyder. So when you read the character of Hamlet, you come to know about his life, how he lived the life. His uncle, and there is one more famous character by the name Polonius. his son Laertes. So a reader lives thousand lives because a reader becomes familiar with the lives of thousands of people by the reading. Now one who doesn't read, he live only once. He live only once because I'm not a reader. So I don't know what's going on in your life, what's happening in other body's life. I don't know how people are living their lives. I'm only familiar with my own life. So this is what Martin says. He says, a reader lives thousands of lives, but a person who doesn't read live only one life. So it's better to live thousand lives so that we can get a lot of knowledge, information, and we will be aware how to live our own life. So this is the benefit of reading. Then, and this quote, it reminds me of Shakespeare, this Julius Caesar's quote. There is a famous line by Julius Caesar. It resembles to that line, to that statement by Caesar, where Caesar says, cowardies die many times before their deaths, while the valiant never but taste once. So it's some another topic. Let's discuss in some leisure time if we get time. So then I'd like to quote Thorndike. What Thorndike says about reading. Thorndike argues that reading is a process in thinking and reasoning. Thorndike he has touched another domain of reading. He says it is a process in thinking and reasoning. It means that when a reader reads a text, he uses his brain to think and reason out. So Thorndike has touched a deeper domain of reading. He says reading is not only to just only to move your eyes over the written material. It's not only that thing. It's a process in thinking and reasoning. You think and reason. There is a process of thinking and reasoning. And it means that when a reader reads a text, he uses his brain to think and reason out. So when a reader reads a text, he is not only moving his eyes, it's not only a surface reading. Rather, a reader uses his brain to think and reason out. For example, if you are reading a statement, you use your brain. You think upon that. You evaluate that statement. You check that statement. You check its validity. You check its authenticity. You check whether it is from a reliable source or not. You check whether it is the author's own opinion, or it is an idea which is shared or accepted by a lot of people, or it is a critically acclaimed idea. So you check each and everything when you think and when you reason it out. So reading is not only to move your eyes over the written material, rather it is to think and reason out the written stuff. And we all know reading is also a language skill. It is the third language skill which comes after speaking and before writing. We have 4 skills. One is listening, speaking, reading, writing. So this is the third one. Now, reading is the most important skill in English language from other language skills in acquiring a language. It's one of the important skills among the 4 language skills. In order to acquire a language, in order to learn a language, reading plays also a vital role. See, you cannot be good readers, you cannot be an expert of a language if you do not have the knowledge of all the 4 skills. If you do not know all the 4 skills, if you do not know what reading is, you can never be called the master of a language. You can be a good speaker, but you cannot be the master of a language. Because speaking may come to you, as speaking is language is caught. It can come to you. You may catch words, but you may not be aware with the grammar, with the structure, with the science of that language, unless and until you have the knowledge of all the 4 skills. If a student is good in reading, she will be good in other language skills. Obviously, if you are good in reading, you may be good at other language skills. It's not like you are good at other skills and you lack in 1 or 2 skills. No, that will not help you in the long run. That will not show that will not improve, that will not make you the master of that language or an expert of that language. For this reason, teachers of English or any other language should focus on the skill. It's for this reason that reading is also one of the main skills which plays a vital role in order to acquire a language. So for this reason, the language teachers should focus, or they are focusing on this skill. So for this reason, that what is the reason? That reading is one of the important skills which one need to learn in order to learn a language, in order to understand a language, in order to acquire a language. So for this reason, all the language teachers of any language, they are focusing and they must focus on this skill, the skill of reading. Now, why is reading important? Why? What can you get from reading? What will reading give you? Reading is fundamental to function in today's society. To function, to balance your life in the society, to make your interpersonal relationship better in the society, you must have the skill of reading. Because a lot of information will come to you in the written form. Newspapers may reach to you early in the morning. In order to just get yourself updated, you must have that reading skill. You are visiting the doctor, you are going to any office, maximum of the information is in the written form. You are going to bank, you are going to any office. You are going to college, your son's college, your own college, your some other institution. You will see maximum of the information is in written form. You are going anywhere to any foreign land. Lot of signboards are there, that's again a written form of communication. So in order to live the life, in order to be functional in today's society, one should be good at reading. Otherwise, it will be the same thing. You are good at speaking. You know speaking, like you know Hindi good, you know English good. But you went to China or you went to any corner of the world where people do not speak English. So this speaking may not help you. So it's better if you are a good reader. So that if you may not understand, you may not read Chinese or some other language, you can read some signboard, some sign language you can read. So reading is an important skill in order to survive in the modern society, in order to be functional in the modern society. Then, reading is important because it develops the mind. Understanding the written words is one way the mind grows in its ability. Reading is also important because it develops our mind. See, our mind is an organ, but it grows like our muscles. Our muscles grow. You are going to gym, you are doing some exercise. You see there is some change in your biceps, triceps, in your chest, in your shoulder, collar. So these muscles, they grow with the help of exercise. Our mind also grows, it also develops. And the exercise is thinking. When we think, it's not overthinking and it's not negative thinking, it's always positive thinking. So when we think, our mind grows, it develops. So when we read things, we come up with new ideas, new words, new sentences, new structures, new information. And when we process that information, we think upon that information, our mind develops, it grows. So it's helpful. It's helpful to read. And reading is helpful because it develops our brain, it develops our mind. And to understand the written words, that's one of the exercises which is helpful for our brain to develop. It's how we discover new things. Books, magazines, and even the internet are great learning tools which require the ability to read and understand. And it is how we discover new things by reading. If we are good at speaking, so obviously we may be all the time speaking, we may be just vomiting the information which we are having, we may be sharing that information with others. But how can we receive the information? There are two ways. One is to be good listener, another is to be good reader. So one should be master of these receptive skills. Reader, good reader. When you are a good reader, then you can receive the information. You can learn the information. You can acquire the information. When you are reading, when your reading skill is up to date. So reading skills, it helps us to discover new worlds, to discover new things, new planets, to discover new information. Then reading develops the imagination. One of the important points. Because imagination is more powerful than your knowledge. Because all the knowledge it occurs, its existence is from the good knowledge, it exists from the imagination. Imagination is more powerful than knowledge. So we see reading, it develops imagination. When you read new ideas, you read new people, you read new cultures, you read new things. So you start imagining. And if you have developed your imagination, you can do wonders. Because imagination is a kind of, that's a source of lot of new inventions, source of lot of new books, new texts. Imagination. Reading is important because words spoken and written are the building blocks of life. Reading is important because, see beta, whatever I speak, or whatever the great speakers speak, and whatever the greatest of the writers have written, these things, they are the building blocks of life. The great speech by, like, I would like to quote Dr. C.V. Raman. Yeah, Dr. C.V. Raman. He delivered the great lecture at Rutherford University. And like the lectures of other people, we have the lectures of one of the American writer by the name R.W. Emerson, Ralph Waldo Emerson. A lot of lectures are there. So these lectures, they are informative, knowledgeable lectures. And whatever is written in the books, obviously they all are the building blocks of life. Because they contain the essence of life. They contain the worthy information which helps a person in order to live a life. So when a person is a good reader, he can inculcate or he can extract that good information from the written stuff. So he can build his life in a good way. So these are the important points which help us, which speak us why we should read. There are some techniques of reading, like we have skimming, scanning, intensive reading, and extensive reading. I would like to go with these techniques of reading, like we have skimming is there, scanning is there, intensive reading is there, and extensive reading is there. So 4 techniques are there. Let's see what these 4 techniques speak about reading. I would like to go with the first one, that is skimming. Skimming means to read quickly to get the general idea of a given text. To read quickly. There are many these written articles. There is a lot of written stuff which we read quickly, where we do not pay more attention. In order to get, because we need not to go with all the details in depth. We want small information. We want the gist of that whole written material. So that reading which we do in order to get the gist of the whole written material, that's called skimming. This skimming is used quickly to gather. Skimming is used to quickly gather the most important information. It's not essential to understand each word when you are skimming. So skimming is used in order to get the essential information, but not each and every word, each and every sentence, each and every phrase of the written material. In the morning you are reading a newspaper and you find the headline. The headline is like this: Prime Minister attends a meeting with foreign delegates. Prime Minister attends a meeting with foreign delegates. It's attends. Why it's not attended? Because he has attended a meeting. Why is it attends? There is a grammatical rule. The rule is every newspaper heading, it must be in present indefinite form. So it is present indefinite form because subject is Prime Minister, that's third person. When we have third person as subject, we add s, es, ies to the verb. There is a rule for the different words where to add s, where to add es, where to add ies. This we shall be discussing when we will be dealing with the grammar. So when for the present indefinite tense, if the subject is third person, verb demands s, es or is at the end. So we do not have attend, we have attends. If the subject is first person or second person, either singular or plural, we can use first form of verb. If it is I, it would be I attend. If it is you, it would have been you attend. If it is we, it would have been we attend. Now it is third person, so it is attends. So if the headline is Prime Minister attends a meeting with foreign delegates. Now you are reading the newspaper, you will not go with all the names of the delegates, you will not read extra information where the meeting was held, but you will get to know what are the issues which were discussed with the delegates. So that kind of reading is called skimming, where you skim the other text and you are just taking the gist of a written material, of a written stuff. So you do not bother about the other material, only you want to know is the gist of that written stuff. So this technique is called skimming. The first reading technique is skimming. Then run your eyes over the text. How is this skimming done? We run our eyes over the text, nothing important information. Use skimming to quickly get up to speed on a current business situation. So we are not bothering about other information. It bothers only about the important information, and we skim quickly, we go on with the speed in order to get a current business situation, means the current situation which we want to know. So this is skimming. Skimming requires one person to move his eyes quickly so that one can skim the text and one can extract the exact information which one needs, which one needs to get from that written stuff. So that is skimming. You can simply remember it. To read quickly, to get the general idea of a given text is called skimming. Now how can we skim the text? Read the title if there is one. First thing is read the title, because your title will guide you what to extract from the text. Then read the introduction of the paragraph if there is one. If that text which you are trying to skim, if it is divided in paragraphs and if it has an introduction, read full introduction. Then read the first sentence of every other paragraph. Then read first sentence of every paragraph. Why? Because every paragraph is having a topical sentence which talks about the idea that is discussed in that paragraph. In spite of reading the whole paragraph, it's better to read the single sentence, the first topical sentence, because rest of the paragraph, it talks about that topical sentence. Then notice any pictures, charts or graphs. If there is any picture, chart or graph, we should notice that. Notice any italicized or bold-faced words or phrases. If there is any information which is italicized, which is in bold-face or any word or phrase, we should read that, because these things, they are important and they contain important information. Read the summary or last paragraph if there is one. It is better to read the summary and the last paragraph, because last paragraph, obviously it is a kind of conclusion. So it is better to read if there is conclusion provided at the end. Then read for which audience the text was written, and it is better to read for which audience the text was written. Then read what type of text it is. Read what the purpose of the author and the general content of the text. It is better to read the purpose of the author and the content of the text, the general content. By just taking care of all these points, we can better skim written stuff. Examples of skimming are newspaper. To get quickly the general news of the day, we are skimming the newspaper. Then it's magazine. To quickly discover which articles you would like to read, it's again magazine is there, and there are some business or travel brochures. So these are the examples of skimming. Now let's move to the second one, that's scanning. Scanning is reading for specific information. When we want a particular, skimming, it's not like we do not know what is there in the news column when we are reading a newspaper, when we are skimming any column. We are not about anything. We don't know anything about that news column. We read quickly and we extract the important information. Now here, scanning is for specific information. You are having the idea in your mind. Yes, for example, I would like to give an example. You are having a telephone directory in front of you. You want to check your number. You want to search. On one page, there are 100 phone numbers are given. Now you want to check your own number. On what serial is your phone number? So that means you are searching for a specific information. A specific telephone number you are searching. So that is scanning. So what you are doing, you are not reading each and every phone number. You are quickly moving your eyes. You are scanning the text. You are quickly searching like this, here it is my number. So that's called scanning. It is reading for specific information. Let's see in detail what scanning is. Scanning is the act of searching a particular information in a text with a particular approach. It is to find a particular information with a particular approach. Particular information, as I told you. For instance, if you want to know the meaning of a word virtuous from a dictionary, you will start searching the letter V, then I, then R, and by then you will be able to find virtuous. If you have the habit of finding words from the dictionary, it is a good habit. You should check words from dictionary as well. Rather going with the telephone, with the internet, with different applications, use applications as well wherever they are required, but cultivate the habit of finding words from dictionary, because when we find words from the dictionary, we get the knowledge of other words as well. So when you are, for example, you are finding the word virtuous, so first you will go with the letter V. You will not go with letter A, B, C, D, E. No, V. Then you will go with I, then R, because this is the spelling of virtuous. And by then you will probably find, virtuous is there. So this is scanning. You scan it. You're not going with A, B, C. You directly go with V. Then this process of searching is called scanning, and it is the technique of fast reading. What is the purpose of scanning? To search for a word in a dictionary or index, to find a telephone number or an address in a directory or directory. Both the pronunciations are correct. To check time schedule of a program in an agenda. You are checking your program, timing of your program in an agenda. You don't go with all the timings. You quickly search your name. This is my timing. To check the price of a specific item in a catalog. There is a catalog in front of you. You are not going with each and every item. What is the cost of this? What is the cost of chili? What is the cost of different items, oil or sugar? No. You directly try to find out your own item and you are checking the cost. To know a particular information from a text. So, particular information. Not the gist, particular information. Don't confuse with the gist and the particular information. And then we have intensive reading. And after intensive reading, then we have extensive reading. So, intensive reading is, what's intensive reading? It is reading in detail with specific learning aims and tasks. This is the reading in detail, where we have specific learning aim and task. Now you are reading, for example, an assignment has been given to you, and the assignment is followed by some question answers, or you have to write another assignment on the basis of the knowledge which you extract from this assignment. So this is an assignment, or this is reading which is bound with the aims. There are certain aims are there, and this is what students are doing in class. For example, if I give you any assignment, I am telling you to read this page by your own, then I'll ask you questions. Will you skim it? Will you scan it? No. Then you will thoroughly read it, because I may be asking you anything. So that is intensive reading, and this is going to be far more consuming than skim. Obviously, this detailed reading, intensive reading, in-depth or thoroughful reading, it takes more time. It's more time consuming than skimming and scanning. And this type of reading is indeed beneficial to language learners, as it helps them understand vocabulary by deducing. This type of reading is essential for the language learners, because if you are a language learner, you should read in detail. Why? Obviously, you will confront a lot of new words, And when you encounter them, you should check their meaning. You should use them in your own conversation. When you get the knowledge of words, obviously your vocabulary enriches. You will be a good speaker of that language. Then, moreover, it helps with retention of information and knowledge for long periods of time, and it persists in your long-term memory. This intensive reading is helpful for retaining information in the mind. You remember information in your mind when you do intensive reading, thoroughful reading. It's helpful for retaining the information in your long-term memory. Intensive. What is its purpose? The aim of intensive reading is to help students construct a detailed meaning from the text. Students can construct a detailed meaning from the text. To develop reading skills such as identifying main ideas and recognizing text signals. A student can develop reading skill such as identifying the main ideas and recognize text signals. There are different signals which a text provides. To enhance their knowledge of vocabulary and grammar, namely formal schema. So it can help you to enhance your grammar and vocabulary. Then, now we have the last technique of reading, that's extensive reading. Extensive reading involves reading for pleasure. It is reading for pleasure because there is an element of enjoyment in extensive reading, and it's unlikely that students will undertake extensive reading of a text they do not like. Extensive reading means reading for pleasure. It's not intensive, in-depth, thoroughful reading. Rather, it is reading for pleasure. This you are doing in your leisure time. This sometimes you are doing to pass the time. You are traveling from one place to another place. You are flying in aeroplane from one place to another place. It's a long journey of 3 hours, 4 hours, 5, 10 hours. So you are having a novel in your hand or any text in your hand. You are reading that to pass the time, to please yourself, to pass the time. So this is not, the students are doing this kind of reading for the texts which they do not like. They are reading it for fun. Have you understood anything? When we ask students, no. Why? Because I don't like this subject. So reading for fun, reading for pleasure, reading for enjoyment. And it also requires a fluid decoding and assimilation of the text and content in front of you. If the text is difficult and you stop every few minutes to figure out what's being said or look up new words in the dictionary, there is also a fluid decoding required in order to assimilate the text. A fluid decoding is there. It's not like you are playing with the text. You cannot understand that. A fluid decoding is required in order to understand the text. Now here you have liberty, because it's not aim-oriented text. It's not the text which is bound by the aims and objectives. So for example, you confront an idea and you're not understanding it. So you stop for a moment, then you start thinking about that text, then you take up dictionary, then you check the meaning of certain words. So you are taking some rest you are taking in between there, and you are sharing your own opinion there. And you are breaking your concentration and diverting your thoughts. You break your concentration because you take a rest. For example, you are reading any text. You find something is there very difficult. You are not understanding that. If it is intensive reading, if your class teacher has told you that he will be checking you, will you break? Will you take a rest? Or you will ask others, say, what is there in between the lines? What have you extracted from this paragraph? But here for extensive reading, you take rest. You don't bother about the breaking of your concentration, about the diverting of your thoughts, because you are doing extensive reading. What is purpose of extensive reading? The purpose of extensive reading is an program is to encourage reading fluency and reading speed. When you do not read with concentration, when you do not read for fulfilling certain objectives and aims, so you are reading with fluency, you are reading with speed. It's better sometimes to go with extensive reading so that we can improve our fluency and reading speed. And developing reading speed is important because it helps learners to understand language faster and better. It's always better for readers to develop reading speed. Why? When you read speedily, that means there are chances you can understand speedily and you can understand faster than others. So it is better to develop reading speed so that you can understand things faster and better. And this builds confidence and motivation, which makes the learner a more effective user of language. It will ultimately build your confidence and motivation, and it makes the learner more effective user of language. When you read quickly, when you read speedily, when you have fluency in reading, when you have speed in reading, you will you will get the motivation. You will build confidence and motivation, and it will turn you a more effective user of language. So this is all about the techniques of reading. Today we talked about 4 techniques of reading: skimming, scanning, then we talked about intensive reading, we talked about extensive reading. Skimming, I told you, that is to get the gist of a text. Scanning is to read for a particular information. Intensive is a detailed reading. Extensive is reading for fun. So if you want some extra information about this topic, you can go with these books. You will get extra information about techniques of reading. So here I would like to stop. Thank you. Thank you for listening me carefully. Thank you.
Like, share and subscribe. Hit the bell icon for more updates.